What's up everybody, this is Danny and today I'm going to be doing the camera comparison with the Galaxy Z Flip 3 and the new Galaxy Z Flip 4. So I know that the cameras are supposed to be improved big time on the Z Flip 4, so let's see if that's actually true, because you might be able to save a little bit of money with the Z Flip 3. So let's go ahead and test this out in every condition and let me know which one looks better, which one sounds better, and let's get this camera comparison started. Let's do it. This camera comparison is interesting because the dual camera setup remains the same, so you get the main sensor and an ultra wide sensor and no telephoto, so keep that in mind. But we'll jump straight into the daytime pictures, and just as you would expect, they look extremely similar, but there are some subtle differences that I want to point out. First thing that you'll notice is just a change in processing. Most of the pictures that I'm seeing have subtle increases in detail, and you will notice a color difference as well. I think this will all be personal preference, but you can see by the rendition of the sky that the new Galaxy Z Flip 4 has more contrast straight out of the camera. Take a look at the trees here. They are brighter with punchier highlight detail on the old Galaxy Z Flip 3, so some of you might like that better, and I'm going to keep it 100% real here that old processing makes some of these shots look better, and while the Galaxy Z Flip 4 has more of a dramatic look, and some of you might love that, I prefer the more natural sky rendition in this scenario. You can say that Samsung is going back to their roots with a heavier contrast and bumped up saturation look that is in right now, as you can see by the Flip 4 picture on the right. So I can see this being heavily debated in the comments, but this updated processing does give it one advantage, and that is better highlight control, and you can see that here in the sky. A lot of the times the Galaxy Z Flip 4 also shows higher dynamic range. Take a look at the clipping here on the Z Flip 3. So I think Samsung is going in the right direction when it comes to technical balance on the overall image, but I do think they can tone down the contrast slightly straight out of the camera. You can see the crushing of the shadow detail here, so they have some tuning to do. At times I really like what I'm seeing out of the new Z Flip 4. Again, look at the dynamic range here, is so much nicer. In full shots like this, the balance and details just look more refined on the newer sensor, so I think you won't be disappointed with this at all. But then there are times where the Z Flip 3 is holding its own or even doing better than the Z Flip 4, so you're going to have to ask yourself, am I disappointed with my Z Flip 3 camera? And if the answer is no, then I think you should consider keeping it another year. This is like any other camera comparison. Look at here on this ultra wide shot, the rocks look sharper and more detailed on a Z Flip 3. And look at this shot of this building, the Z Flip 3 looks more detailed too. But if you're considering upgrading, just know that it's the refinement in most of the shots that will make you appreciate this. Do you see this flower? It looks sharper on the Z Flip 3, but that's because it's over sharpened, where on the Z Flip 4, the detail is still there without that. But look at the overall image with the wood up here is blurrier and noisier with the Z Flip 3. So this is what you're going to see during the day, less sharpening, a better overall image, and I appreciate the improvements in color and tone of skin on the human subjects as well. It's very noticeable in certain scenarios, and you may even see better shutter speed performance. The Z Flip 4 did a much better job in this action shot. I'm seeing improvements even on the front-facing camera. Yes, it's the same camera, but the image processing improvements from the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 shows here with more detailed skin texture. I am appreciating the more accurate skin tone as well, really balancing those bright areas behind me. And while not every improvement is drastic, I think you'll appreciate the overall subtle changes. Let's talk about video before jumping into the low light. If you were wondering, here's what the video looks like shooting from the cover display without the flip open, so you get the advantage of using the best camera on the phone when you shoot like this. When I shot this video, you can see how the Flip 3 shoots in a square aspect ratio by default, but there's an update coming where you can shoot full vertical like the Z Flip 4, as you can see here, so that is awesome. Just like the daytime photos, you can see an improvement to dynamic range in video. Take a look at the background. There is a pretty big difference there, and this was shot with the ultra wide camera, and the Z Flip 3 arguably has more contrast, and I personally like this look in video, but the Z Flip 4 is definitely better. Here is 4K 30 frames per second video from the main sensor, and this one with that bumped up highlight processing and brighter overall video. It looks better on the Z Flip 3 in my opinion, and I'm sure that this will be personal preference, so let me know which one that you like better in the comment section below. Here's an example of stabilization on both of these phones, and again you can see the difference of contrast and balance on both of these. The Z Flip 4 prioritizes on balancing the skin, while the Z Flip 3 processes on the entire scene with the same brightness. So this does go back and forth, so I hope Samsung continues the updates for the Z Flip 4 to work out some of these kinks. My son will be totally embarrassed by this later on in his life, but portrait mode video is so much better on the Galaxy Z Flip 4, so if you're going to use this feature a lot for TikTok or Instagram, then you're going to be happy with the Z Flip 4. Oh, and one last thing is that bigger sensor on the Z Flip 4 did make the minimum focusing distance worse, so for up close shots, the Z Flip 3 is better. I really wish that they would have included a macro mode for the ultra wide on here. This would have helped a lot, but if you don't shoot up close, then you won't care about this at all. Okay, so let's jump into low light because this is where the Z Flip 4 should really shine, and you know that I have to start with the low light restaurant food test. I'm not seeing a huge improvement with the main sensor in this type of lighting. Little better detail from the Z Flip 4, but it's nothing to be really impressed by. But again, I really appreciate the improvements in skin tone. So much nicer in my opinion on the Z Flip 4 here. And you can see that the Flip 4 seems to be a little wider on the main sensor. I forgot to mention that earlier. But the ultra wide, I'm seeing improvements here. Look at my son on the Z Flip 3, just looks really muddy, while the Flip 4 looks great. And in this shot, you can just see how much sharper it is from edge to edge on the Flip 4. So I was surprised by this since I don't think it's a new sensor at all. Where you will see some improvements is when it gets darker. Here is a picture with no night mode, just single snap, and the Z Flip 3 goes brighter right off the bat. But when you punch into the image, you can see that the noise control is much better on the new Z Flip 4. But when you use night mode, you can see that the two images look very similar. The Z Flip 3 again with the brighter approach, but I prefer the Flip 4's more balanced image. There's more contrast without losing detail, and it's more accurate to the scene. And on top of that, when you punch in, you can see that the noise control still remains better on the Flip 4. So this is what you can expect. Here is another example of this. It's probably the most dramatic one out of the bunch. From here, you might not be able to tell a huge difference, but when you punch in, look at the texture and detail pickup. That is a major difference. And you can also see how much lighting is being picked up by the Z Flip 4. This is impressive. And if you're more of a natural night picture type of person, you can see that the differences aren't huge, but the sky remains more black and things look a little bit more like nighttime. Look at how the building is so bright on the Z Flip 3 and it's way more natural on the Z Flip 4. So if you like this type of processing, then you'll definitely prefer the Flip 4. If you use night mode though primarily, the images look very similar. I mean, besides the sky here, these images look pretty much identical. Here is a portrait mode picture, and while the Z Flip 4 has smoother and better look to the bokeh here in the background, these are just too similar. So the thing I think is important is how you use the Flip. If you place it down like this on a table to take nighttime video, this is different from the daytime video where the Flip 4's video is so much sharper. Look at the foliage here and also look at the people here in the background. It is clear on the new Z Flip 4 where it is pretty muddy on the Z Flip 3, so that is a welcome improvement. The darker it got, the worse the Flip 3 did in terms of video. You can see by the green color pickup all over the place, where the Z Flip 4 looks so much better. And I'm impressed by this since this is ultra wide video. This was shot with the screen closed using the cover screen. But if this comparison wasn't confusing enough, the inner display front facing camera performance was actually worse on the Z Flip 4. So this goes to show you that Samsung has some work to do. And if Samsung's track record plays out, then this device will continue to get better over time. I was surprised to see that the Z Flip 3 did better on the Coca-Cola red replication test, so processing will have to be tuned, but there were plenty of times where the Z Flip 3 really showed its limitations with a lot of green flaring and color pickup. This is with the ultra wide in night mode. Here is another one here. The white balance is just not great on the Z Flip 3. It was super consistent on the ultra wide angle shots where it just picked up so much green, so I hope this gets fixed with the next Flip 3 update. If you want my opinion after all of these images, here it is. The Z Flip 4 is a better camera and has the potential with software updates to be better than the Galaxy Z Flip 3, but as it stands right now, they may be too close to warrant as an upgrade from the camera alone. Now, if you want a faster processor, a bigger battery, with a smaller all-around footprint, then get the Z Flip 4 by all means. It's a fantastic phone. But think about the camera improvements as the icing on the cake and not the layers in the cake itself. Think about the Z Flip 4 upgrade as an incremental one, so if you absolutely love the Flip series and want the latest and greatest, then go for it. But if you're okay with your Flip 3 and have no complaints, then I would keep it and just wait for the Flip 5.